Good evening. What's crack?
Yeah. Got loud and cut off.
I think you said what's cracking, and I think the answer is your microphone.
Yep.
All right. I think it's because I opened Discord.
Accurate.
Oh no, am I just not going to hear you at all?
Can you not hear us?
Oh my goodness, what is going on today?
You can't
I
hear
muted it. I muted the tab. That's why I thought I owned it.
There's mercury in the lemonade.
There is mercury in the lemonade.
So,
Hello, press 1 for Caleb. It's so good to see you. Tonight's like super chill. We're not even playing Avatar tonight.
yeah. So you don't need to be
Johnny,
caught up on anything to be here.
It's true. You just come hang out with us.
Yeah.
Johnny, what are we doing tonight? And why are we doing it?
Well, so as you guys could tell, this is less than the normal number of people in a different lineup. Danny is under the weather. Nick had something going on. Monroe had something going on. So instead of Avatar Legends going on tonight, we're going to play a game called Sanctum, which we will talk a little bit more about in a minute. This is a really interesting game. I haven't actually played it yet, so I'm excited to actually play it with people for the first time. But we're also going to just like do a little Q&A chat, see what happens if we get some questions in the chat here on Twitch, or if we get some questions in the Discord, we'll answer those. Maybe we'll come up with questions for each other on our own, but we'll spend a little bit of time. It probably won't be as long of an episode as normal, but it'll be fun. We'll have a good time. Right, guys?
I can't promise anything. I won't promise anything.
Wow, we're both equally non-committal. Johnny, we need to bring up the energy. Yes, I think this is going to be the greatest episode. In fact, it's probably going to clear the slate. We won't be doing any other episodes. We'll just be doing Sanctum Q&As over and over again.
After this, people will be disappointed to get back to our regular... No, I'm just kidding. No, for real though, I'm personally disappointed that Avatar isn't happening tonight. I've been really enjoying the campaign so far. You guys have been crushing it. It's been a ton of fun.
We appreciate that.
But yeah, do we want to just jump into it? Want to just hit the ground running?
Let's Sanctum.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Sanctum is a game is published by Every Mountain Nothing Can Die, and it was written by James Pianka. I bought this game when we were at Gen Con this summer from Indie Press Revolution. I spent a ton of time at their booth just buying a whole bunch of solo and indie games. I think this is actually the only game I bought that's designed to be played with more than one person, but can be played alone. So I'll just read a little bit of the instructions because it's a very, very short game here. Sanctum is a no-prep, all-verbal storytelling game in which 1 to 4 players compose a narrative about a dungeon, what it is, who ventures inside, and how the tale unfolds. Play requires a collaborative yes and spirit and no more than 30 minutes. The ideal group contains exactly 3 players, but a 4th can facilitate the rules for the others. And it goes on from there, which is not really important.
I think we're ideal.
Yeah, we are perfectly set up for this.
There are 3 people here.
Yeah. And so there's not going to be
Yes.
in Sanctum, there's no GM and there's no dice. We are just telling a story together. And as we just discovered, we have the perfect number to do it. And so what are dungeons? It says dungeons can be any enclosed, dangerous space that outsiders might explore for personal gain. While common in fantasy, they can appear in any genre with a sense of adventure. The Sunless Citadel, the Mines of Moria, and every temple that Indiana Jones explores are dungeons. So are abandoned spaceships, haunted houses, and probably the pyramids of Giza. And so Sanctum is essentially a template for conversation. Rotating clockwise, players contribute a piece of a narrative according to the prompts. Then, in any order, they expand upon each other's ideas, prioritizing the unexpanded. setting, characters, and story develop over 3 acts with an optional epilogue. The facilitator, which I will act as the facilitator for this game. When introducing the game to new players and or playing with a group of 4, consider designating someone familiar with the rules as a facilitator. The facilitator will do what a facilitator does. I'm not going to read that part. Rotation. So it says to sit in a circle. We're together digitally, so we can't really
have to
sit in a circle. But we're in a
I'm going to
digital
cut out a
circle.
piece of paper in a circle and sit on that.
Perfect.
I guess if we took a map of the US, we could draw a circle like around where the 3 of us live. It'd just be a really big circle, and there'd be a lot of people playing this game that don't realize they're playing this game.
Yeah. And I think that it would be closer to a line than anything else.
It'd be a really, really rough circle. You're right. We're pretty much in a line.
Oh man. Hitting all but one US time zone too. But anyway,
Mountain time, don't come for us.
Mountain time, if you want to be represented, you got to show up. That's what we're saying.
Show up, yeah.
So we're sitting in our circle, but we're going to number each player clockwise from 1 to 3. And so I'm going to say now, Sam, you are 1, Justin, you are 2, I'll be 3. Players answer prompts in this order, beginning with whomever's number matches the act. So Sam, you're going to go first in Act 1.
I'm feeling the pressure.
And then on genre, player 1, who answers the game's first prompt, enjoys disproportionate control of genre. And so basically, we can also decide on genre ahead of time if we want to, but when we go into Act 1, if we decide not to decide ahead of time, which I think is a little bit more fun, Sam, you get to decide on the genre as we roll into it. And then finally, on complexity, don't begin with robust, detailed visions. This game is a means of producing those and benefits from simple elementary starts. Transition from core concepts to freeform exposition as that naturally occurs.
I love it.
Do we have any questions so far?
Explore it as we go along. But I would like to point out, I see what you're doing here, Johnny.
What am I doing?
I'm going to say this because we're just doing a fun little chat one shot. But
this is the precursor to a not fun statement.
But Scum and Villaini's ending soon.
It's true.
And we've already decided that we're going to do a high fantasy Forged in the Dark game. And I was like, this feels like Johnny's just having us do his prep for him. We're going to see this dungeon in the fantasy campaign.
So are we letting that cat out of the bag? Are we telling people that?
I think that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm GMing the next campaign that's happening with the original cast.
Yep.
Minus Monroe.
Well, I love this. This is breaking news. I am shocked and amazed. Thank you for letting me be a part of this moment.
Of course. It's a fun little stream. So let's put some fun little information.
Yeah. So Caleb, you're the only one who knows so far.
Yep. And if the word spreads, I know who spread it.
And thank you for spreading the word.
But thank you for spreading the word.
All right. Let's jump into it, guys. Act 1, dungeon. So starting with player 1, each player defines a feature of the dungeon. Stay high level and archetypical, leaving room for development. So you're going to you can pick any one of these to start with, Sam. I think you've got the book open in PDF in front of you. But we've got the site, the prize, the guardian. I'll just read what these are really quick for the audience. The site, someplace deadly and removed. The prize is something worth risking one's life to retrieve. And the guardian is some being that protects the prize. And so you can pick any one of those 3 to start with, Sam.
And so these are all within Act 1.
Yes.
And then Act 2. Okay. And
before
go ahead.
Sorry. Before you do, I did realize press 1 for Caleb said to introduce yourself, because if they haven't listened to our new Avatar campaign, they would not know who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam, he, him. In the Avatar Legends campaign, I play Teto of the Oribun Spiral, He's an air nomad, not associated with an air temple. But to learn more about that, tune in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Tedo, I think, is my favorite character in the campaign so far.
I think I was
He's a
actually
ton of fun.
I play as the character in there, and I think Tedo's my favorite character in that campaign.
Aw, shucks. Just to outline back to Sanctum, just to outline it. Again, Act 1 is the dungeon, and then you got the site, the prize, and the guardian, and there are numbers that are associated next to them. I think I'm going to start with the site because my number 1 is right next to it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the physical book, and there aren't numbers in the physical book, but so the PDF is a little bit different. But so feel free to start if you want to start there. Start there. That's awesome.
Great. And in terms of genre, I'm feeling a little bit dystopian. I don't know why. Just a feeling that I'm getting. But also specifically like a grunge dystopia. So I'm thinking like a lot of like overgrowth and just like dankness and moss. And so the site itself, I think, is going to be a dead mall. A mall that has been abandoned.
Nice.
And you're getting a lot of sort of seepage coming in. Yeah, you've got the above ground portion, but then
don't get too specific. Don't get too specific yet. Right. We're going to drill down over time because we'll come back in waves.
All right. Escalators. That's all I got to say.
Okay. All right, Justin, the prize or the guardian. It's up to you which one you want to introduce us to.
I understand. Okay, so we each take turns. I thought Sam was doing everything in Act 1.
No. So Sam picks one. He gives us. So now it's your turn to pick the prize of the guardian. You're going to give us a high level overview, and then I'll take the last one, and then we're going to keep going until we have no more ideas about what the dungeon is.
Interesting. I like it. I'm gonna say the prize is a Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Ooh.
I just watched Across Spider-Verse tonight, so Spider-Verse is on my mind. Feel like there'd be like a ripped copy held in a comic book shop somewhere in this mall.
Amazing. Okay. So for the guardian, some being that protects the prize, I'm gonna say that the guardian is a pack of irradiated dogs.
You hate to see it.
There's no reasoning with them.
There's not.
It's true. That's true. If they were just regular dogs, maybe, but irradiated dogs, you're good luck.
I feel like dogs, they just you tell them that they're a good boy, you give them a little pet, and send them on their way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have this next piece is a little bit more freeform. So we can keep going around in order if we want to. That gives us a little bit of structure to run with. Or we can go freeform. But let's stay in order. Let's keep going in a cycle. So Sam, now you can pick any piece that we just introduced and drill down a little bit on it. It doesn't have to be the site. You could pick the prize or the guardian. But let's start getting a little more specific with what all this looks like.
I'm feeling drawn to these dogs. Why are they irradiated? And how do they get to live inside of this mall? Like I feel as if inside of the mall there is probably like a dentist office as well, and the dentist that was there was keeping puppies in the back.
Interesting.
And something happened where the dentist was no longer around, and the X-ray machine went nuts. It went beyond its levels of safe capacity, and these dogs, or maybe a mother dog, got irradiated through X-rays in this dentist's office, a la Spider-Man. Gave birth to a bunch of X-ray puppies.
So are they? I'm sorry. Are they superheroes like X-Ray Dog?
No, I
Is that
think you can
what-
just see through them.
Oh, okay. Ooh,
Ooh. I love that.
that's disgusting, and I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of gross, but let's roll with it. It's grungy.
Yeah.
I think the reason the mall is dead is because there is a like radiation storm just rolled through and is like currently outside. So you're like stuck in the mall. But it turned off the electricity.
Cool. And yeah, and the prize, this copy of Amazing Spider-Man #1 is it's it's not in a comic book shop, it's in a memorabilia store that was
Smart.
yeah, that was inside of the mall. And as far as anybody knows, because there was when the radiation storm first hit, there was a fire that took out Barnes and Noble on the outer edge of the mall. And so as far as anybody knows, this is the last piece of reading material we can even get our hands on. It's not just
Oh my
valuable because it's
gosh.
Spider-Man, it's valuable because it's words.
That's it. There's nothing else you could read except for this.
The library was the first thing to go, and that's across town anyway. We can't leave the mall.
Yeah. I love it.
All right, let's so technically we only elaborate on pieces we didn't establish. And so I think we'll do one more round where each of us drills down on whatever piece we haven't touched at all yet.
That's fun.
Okay, so this is a very expensive comic book. It's the only reading material, and it's because it's a prize. I think it's a prize. Not only is it because it's reading material, but you all know that back in the day when comics would have those like fake ads for like gag gifts, like magic tricks or things like that. There are these goofy things. What people have realized is that one of those advertisements, those fake advertisements for things that are supposedly bogus, is actually real, and it will help. Maybe it's like a way to protect themselves from radiation. Maybe it is just thinking back, if it's when did Amazing Spider-Man come out? The 40s?
I think the 60s.
The 60s? Some comic book nerd help me out here.
I'm looking it up right now.
But you're in the middle of
63.
Okay, so I would say you've got in that era sort of a fear of what the atom bomb can do, and maybe there's a way to protect yourself from radiation. Maybe it's an advertisement that you turn your school desk into a radiation shield, and in this dystopian world, it actually works.
Nice.
And it's a way it's a way of protection, so you can get through any irradiated puppies or through a radiation storm by turning your school desk into an A-bomb shield.
Amazing.
Are we not allowed to touch the high level thing that we established?
Yeah, so
So I would have to do the pack of irradiated dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Oh gosh. Oh, there's the reason the dogs are in the mall in the first place is because they actually fled from a like irradiated bear that's just outside of the mall, and that's why they're taking shelter in this mall.
Mm.
I feel like Radio Bear is a good band name.
It's a good band name.
Yeah. Yeah, and the site, there is the you know how like malls are set up where the big department stores are kind of at like
The
the ends
corners.
of
Yep.
concourses and
Yep.
throughout so each department store in this mall has been taken over by like rival gangs, and so there are people who have taken up residence recently in the mall who are stuck in the storm, but the basically you have like rival territory kind of separated, and so the main mall, the main concourses are completely deserted. People won't venture out of the department stores because of the dogs, but the department stores themselves are not safe either.
Can I can I request that in this world their gang name is the department store?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. All right.
That's
That's what I'm thinking. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
yeah.
The
Because
JC Penney's.
I love that like it's so far in the future that like they don't know what JC Penney's is, but now that all these people live in it, they're like, yeah, we're JC Penney's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on when this apocalypse started,
Yeah.
just imagining a group, a gang named Bonton.
I don't think I've bought. Is that like a East Coast thing?
Maybe, I don't know. It's not even open anymore, anyways. So
I've never heard it. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
yeah, it was a department store. I guess maybe it was an East Coast thing.
We're learning so much. I like that touch too. It's really giving The Warriors, the movie.
Mm.
Hands down, one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. They did pass out of the Midwest.
Oh, okay. There
So
we
it was
go.
the Midwest and East.
And I grew up in the West Coast, which is why I probably never saw them.
Yeah, most likely.
There we go.
Was it a general department store, or was it very specific? Like, was it just clothes, or could you get whatever?
I'll be honest with you, Sam. I don't remember.
Jeez, Johnny, just lie. I don't need the honesty.
They sold exclusively waffle irons. That's probably why.
That's why they went out of business. Yeah.
Bonton's waffle irons. I've heard of that.
Oh, man.
No, I think it was like clothes. It was like Macy's or whatever. It was all like. Seen one department store, you've seen them all.
They're all the same. There's nothing that separates any of them from each other.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be saying that in JCPenney territory.
Yeah. This is a Macy's section.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we have established the dungeon, we move on to Act 2, the intruders. And so this time, Justin's going to be starting us off. But each player is going to define an aspect of the intruders. And then it could be one intruder, it could be multiple intruders. Doesn't really matter. Justin, you have the potential to decide that here. But we're going to look at their identity, who and what they are, their motivation, why would they take this risk, and their preparation, how they ready themselves.
Yeah, I kind of like that it's one person.
Yeah.
And I think their motivation is that they owe a like a gang lord, one that's not in this mall, but in another settlement somewhere, who wants this comic book.
Okay, cool. I'm just writing the stuff down here. So actually, let's take a step back here, Justin. Is that so? You're answering the motivation question then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't necessarily know that is one person because you didn't choose identity.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then motivation. Sorry. I was under the impression that in the same way that like Sam could pick the genre, I could pick how many, but that's totally fine. I will just pick the motivation.
We know that you like the fact that it could be one person.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Motivation. They owe a gang lord. Okay. I will go with identity, I think. And I will say, let's stick with one person. I won't rock the boat too much here. So it is one person, and let's say the what they are is actually a I can't think of a better name for it, but I don't know if you guys watched Static Shock growing up.
Of course, I watched Static Shock growing up.
The Bang Babies.
Books.
Nice. I'm just thinking about like if there are irradiated animals, there's got to be irradiated people too, right? And so, this guy is or girl, this person is this world's equivalent of the Bang Babies in Static Shock. They've received some sort of heightened abilities from the radiation.
Or maybe somewhat like a ghoul from the Fallout games.
No,
not like that at all. Okay, all right.
It could be when if it get to when it's your turn to add to identity. If that feels natural.
All right,
but that's not what I'm saying.
Have you seen those TikToks of like the guy asking people to name it's like name 10 black superheroes who don't have electricity powers? Yeah. And everyone's like, geez, it's so hard.
Yeah, well, it's 10 black comic book characters,
yes.
Pretty like it's not as hard as people are making it for themselves. They just need to read more comic books.
Should we go in a circle and do it?
Okay. I mean, I've watched enough that I could probably come up with a few.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess we have to. The question is like, electric. So he usually says electric-based powers, and so energy powers. Are we counting that as electric if their ability is just to manipulate energy? Okay.
No, so if you pick like Blue Marvel, you're fine.
Right. Okay. That's exactly where my brain was. Yeah. Or Spectrum, for that matter.
Yep.
My favorite character from Marvel's New Warriors was Night Thrasher, until somebody was like, it sounds like he's just having a bad dream. And I was like, I thought he was so cool until then.
You know who I have never seen anybody bring up in any of those videos, and it baffles me, is Steel.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Would we count Darwin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spawn.
Ooh, that's really good.
I'll
go with Night Thrasher's on again, off again girlfriend, Silhouette. Y'all knew what I was reading in middle school.
Are we doing heroes only or characters in general?
I think you do characters.
Okay, then Lucius Fox.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And his son, whose first name I cannot remember right now, who becomes Batman.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Cloak of Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger. Jon Stewart, obviously.
Yep. Depending on which continuity you're looking at, John Jones technically
John
as
Jones,
well.
Aqualad.
Yep. Black Manta.
Black Manta.
That's just easy one when you're thinking of Aqualad.
Yep.
Black Panther. And every character in Black Panther.
Everyone in Wakanda.
Yeah.
The entirety of the nation of Wakanda.
Yeah. Luke Cage.
We're crushing this.
Yeah. We're incredible.
It's higher than 3, and we've already established that that's as high as I can count. So I don't know where we're at anymore.
It's true. Definitely more than 10. I mean, we said the entirety of the nation of Wakanda, so.
Yeah, Falcon also.
Falcon, yep. Isaiah Bradley.
Yep. And the Patriot, his nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also read the Gargoyles comic books, and it's always been in my head that they were black.
Yeah. I would accept that. I would also say Raphael, but not the rest of the Ninja Turtles.
Really?
1,000%, Johnny. You are 1,000% right.
I will accept our argument for Mikey, but definitely not Leonardo or Donatello.
100%.
I mean, I can definitely see like Leonardo not being it, but I kind of feel like I know a Donatello or two.
I don't know. Donnie's a white kid in my head.
I'm with Johnny on that one.
I've always like my entire life, I think of Raph is black, Mikey is usually Hispanic if I'm thinking about this specific thread. Donnie is white and Leo is Asian.
You know what? It is the a good wide spectrum in New York City to choose from. So
it's true. It's a melting pot.
What are we playing a game here?
I think we're playing a game. We're playing kind of a game within a game now.
I love it.
This is the discussion that is happening in the Bonton among the gang members. Okay.
Oh man, Raphael is black. What are you talking about, dude?
We're out of waffle irons.
Yeah, why did we choose the one store that didn't have anything we could use? Okay.
I think Sam has to pick.
It's Sam's preparation.
Preparation. I'm gonna say that they're in for whatever reason, maybe they got bad intelligence, but they are going to be wearing skiing gear, like all just like winter gear, and skis too. They think there might be snow on the inside. Who knows? I don't know. I think again, maybe just bad intel, but I like the idea of them in like whatever, like the tight spandex, but then also the puffy overalls, ski poles, skiing helmet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So they're prepared for snow.
That's fun. All right, Justin, tell us about their identity or more about their preparation.
Yeah. Gosh. I do kind of like. No, you know what? I like that their preparation is accurate because when the apocalypse happened was during Christmas. So they had one of those snow blowing machines in the mall and it went haywire. And so it's just fun. Everywhere.
Is it real snow? I feel like I've seen snow machines that don't shoot snow.
Yeah, like
and it
fake
makes
snow.
it makes me real nervous. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
Just like pure asbestos.
It does feel like that. I think I imagine it like those like little white popcorn.
Yeah,
It's like it feels like that. You know?
it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like
I'm with you. Like
it feels
what
like
is fake snow
very
made of?
unclimate conscious.
Yeah. 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 Okay. It's my turn. Motivation. I think that they are here and they've gotten intel and supplies because the gang lord, they owe this comic to the gang lord, but they're planning on a double cross.
Ah.
And so they want to, I don't know what they want to do with the comic, but they're not going to give it to the gang lord.
Eat it.
Eat it. Yeah, food's very scarce. Comic books are nourishment. All right, Sam. Motivation or identity?
I think I'm gonna have to do identity, right?
You don't have to. You
You don't have to.
can pick. You just have to pick the other one the next round.
Is this is this Amazing Spider-Man or is this Amazing Fantasy?
This is Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Okay. I want to say that I think I'm going to go in on identity. They're planning a double cross. And I think this is a descendant of Stan Lee.
Oh.
Ah.
And so they want a piece of, they're not going to give up their family history.
That's
nice.
I love it. I love it.
This is Sam Lee.
Sam Lee.
Yeah, it's my
Is that
because I want
would that go under identity or motivation?
Identity.
Yeah, so we might leave like their motivation of it being a family heirloom up for continued interpretation, but the identity piece is that they are a descendant of Stan Lee. But to be fair, Sam will have motivation next and get to add that piece anyway. So
that's true. I am doing identity as well. I just watched Across the Spider-Verse, so now I'm picturing this person is a Spider-Man variant, and their irradiated powers are Spider-Man like powers.
I'm liking that. It must give them great balance on their skis. I would imagine that they're not using ski poles. They're just kind of
Winter Lodge Spider-Man.
Yes.
So Scarlet Spider.
He's got the best.
Okay. Let's see. I had
While you're thinking, this is just an aside, but Andy Samberg as Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, is perfect casting.
Oh,
no notes on that. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love Andy Samberg. Preparation. They have a copy of Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1 that they are going to swap out.
This one is really for the nerds.
It really is.
Yeah.
I said in my own notes, copy of Ultimate Spider-Man #1 to swap out indie style.
That's exactly what I was picturing. Unfortunately, for whoever comes after, series didn't get good until like 30 issues later.
It's true. Apparently, people are liking the new Ultimate Universe.
That's what I've been hearing. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about it.
it's made me want to restart my Marvel Unlimited subscription.
Yes, me too.
Okay, Sam, hit us with the last piece of motivation.
So they're preparing a double cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Sam Lee's a little bit of a scoundrel. He's a reseller. He's gonna sell this piece of memorabilia, turn a profit, and go and live on the moon where it's not irradiated.
Nice.
Live on the moon. It's good.
He's gonna sell this for enough money to move to the lunar colony. Okay.
Or does that is that against like the Spider-Man ethic? Like, can you be a bad Spider-Man?
Of course, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, you could definitely be a bad Spider-Man. You just say he's got the Venom symbiote.
Ooh.
There we go. He's in a symbiote.
At least that's what we can believe to make ourselves feel better about a bad Spider-Man. Okay. Act 3, Adventure. So starting with player 3, me, each player defines a stage of the adventure, the intruder's effort to breach the site, confront or otherwise manage the Guardian, and extract the prize. This act tells a chronological story, so players may expand upon each stage immediately after its definition. So instead of going in a circle, we'll go in order.
Okay.
And you guys will give your expansions on. So I'll do approach. You guys will expand on approach before we move on to Sam doing complication, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And it says, let inspiration speak. So approach, plan, methodology. And so I think that he wants to do this as kind of a smash and grab. He wants to get in and get out as quickly as possible, hopefully even avoiding confrontation with the dogs.
Does Sam go first?
Yep.
And so I
So you'll expand on approach there.
Gotcha. So I think in order to expedite the process, he is going to get from a high vantage point from outside, and see if he can hit a ramp on his skis to zip in and maybe go in through a broken window or a weak point, so that he can get in and then hit the fake snow on the inside and just what's a good skiing term? How about zzz? Is that
Yes.
I don't ski.
Yeah,
for sure. I've heard tons of skiers use that.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I'm gonna hit those slopes with my skis.
The plan, the approach, the overall plan is to then escape from the next door is a Annie's, Auntie Annie's, but the back of it is crumbled, so he escapes out of the Auntie Annie's.
Crumbled like a cookie.
Crumbled like a cookie, exactly. Yes.
This is an unsponsored podcast, but if you would like
Auntie Annie's, if you want to sponsor us,
or crumble cookie,
yeah, we'll take any sponsor. I'll sell my soul for $1. Okay. Complication. So this time, Sam, you're going to start, and we're going to talk about what goes wrong. So we know what his approach is. He's trying to smash and grab, get in and out without any confrontation, coming in from a high vantage point, so he can hit the ground moving fast and escape out the back through the pretzel shop. So what happens? What goes wrong?
I think that he gets in okay, but there is, instead of a clear path, there is a gang war that's happening. Maybe some sort of, or maybe a gang kerfuffle. 12 people, 15 people. I mean, not a full out war here, but just they're fighting over waffle irons. And JC Penney's and Nordstroms are coming in, and Bonton is trying to fend them off, and they're just in the way.
Some of these gang members, not all of them, are also bang babies and have powers.
I think in the process of trying to get around this obstruction, he uses his powers. And the gang leaders there's kind of a mentality of like, if you're not for us, you're against us. And so there is a shift of attention from the kerfuffle to kind of one way or another, and for one reason or another, acquiring this new challenger.
Yep. 100%. 100%. The resolution. I think
You got to land this plane, Justin.
I know. I hate that the landing is always the hardest part.
If it makes you feel better, Sam's the one who's really going to have to land the plane.
It's
No,
true.
that doesn't make me feel better at all.
You're
You're
just dropping.
You're talking to Justin. Okay.
I'm talking to Justin. Yeah. Justin, you're just dropping the landing gear.
It's
not
hard
gonna land.
because we're in a line instead of a circle. I would understand better.
Yep.
I think in this kerfuffle, some of the pages of the comic book get ripped out.
Oh no.
So he gets out with some of it, but not all of it.
I think that not only that, but the gang lord has sent some of his thugs to be there when he gets out of the mall with the prize. And so
100%.
now he has not only a prize that is less valuable than he was expecting, but there are thugs there to collect already.
I love it. I love it.
But when he used his powers in the midst of the kerfuffle, his powers resonated at a frequency that attracted the irradiated dogs, swayed them to his side, and as he busts out of the pretzel shop, surrounded by the gang leader, the dogs come rushing out and defend him, taking down his enemies, giving him a window of escape, and he skis to the moon.
I kind of don't want to go to the epilogue because skiing to the moon is a great ending.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's let it be there. Let's let it end there. That's great. And that, kids, it's the story of how Elon Musk became king of the moon. It makes, I'm just thinking about, there is a story that is printed in North Korean textbooks, like is their actual school curriculum, that Kim Il Sung, when he founded North Korea, was hiding from the evil capitalists in a cave, but the gods sent a unicorn to let him know that his fight was just, and so he rode the unicorn into Pyongyang and killed the capitalists who were occupying the city in order to found North Korea, and that is the official story.
I mean, that makes sense to me. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
Do you think there is then like paintings of like this unicorn, or is there like a unicorn skeleton in a museum in North Korea somewhere?
That would be so magical. Like the rest of North Korea is just a shit fire, and then there's a unicorn skeleton.
No, I think that the beautiful leader rode the unicorn into the afterlife, and so the unicorn is gone.
Oh,
Did this unicorn have a family? I'm just wondering. I'm kind of interested in these unicorns now. Like, is North Korea
they
the
got him.
home
Yeah, they got him over there. Yeah.
of unicorn? I'm gonna call up my friend Dennis Rodman. We're gonna hop on over. See what's up.
Oh, Johnny, thanks for playing Sanctum, teaching us Sanctum.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was fun.
Appreciate
It was wacky.
It's
was
so
wacky.
wacky. It's so wacky. I like storytelling games a lot. We've done them before too. When we've created like settings and worlds with them. They're just so much fun. You're just like bullshitting with your friends for a few minutes. It's just fun.
Yeah.
This is a stupid one too. I love it so much.
Yeah. I just that ends with him skiing to the moon. It's the best the best part.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It was fun. Oh man. Okay. Did we have any audience questions that came in at all?
We don't. No. Nope.
Okay.
So
I've got a question for both of you. Given
Sure.
that you have taken this platform and started very specifically with Powered by the Apocalypse, Avatar Legends, and it expanded to Blades in the Dark, Scum and Villainy, and you've played Trophy. You've done a couple of one-page one-shots. Johnny, you just brought in Sanctum. Are there other systems that you're looking at that you would care to share with a larger audience, larger than just Caleb and myself?
Caleb left too. Caleb.
Caleb dipped.
Dang, Caleb.
It's I
You never
think
know how the
it's
story ends.
literally just us.
Yeah.
Caleb's out there writing a very long, comprehensive list of Black comic book characters that don't have electric powers.
It
So funny.
it's a great question. This is the actual play podcast space is very strange to me because obviously the most popular game is Dungeons and Dragons,
Mhm.
right? Like I would venture, I don't have any actual stats to prove this, but I would venture probably somewhere in the like 80 to 90% of all actual plays are probably Dungeons and Dragons. I can't prove that, but
Yeah, I would say, or I would say D20 systems. I would include
yeah,
Pathfinder in there.
if you throw Pathfinder in there, then absolutely 80 to 90% of all actual plays are in that.
Mhm.
So like we've picked a niche that is already not popular in the actual play space, if that makes sense. But I also think, me personally, I would rather lean into a niche than the broad appeal of Dungeons and Dragons. So
No,
I
100%.
I think the plan right now is to just focus on Powered by the Apocalypse and Forged in the Dark. Now there are like the cool thing I think about the hobby is that there's so many, like it's evolving all the time,
Mhm.
right? So like Apocalypse World is the original Powered by the Apocalypse game, and like the reason we kind of added Forged in the Dark games is because there's a lot of debate in the community of like, is Forged in the Dark a Powered by the Apocalypse? Can we consider that Powered by the Apocalypse? And a lot of people say, yeah, absolutely, you totally can. It has different mechanics, but the philosophy is the exact same as Powered by the Apocalypse. And there are starting to be other games that are like offshooting off of Forged in the Dark. And so, like, is that considered Powered by the Apocalypse as well? Maybe, maybe not. So for now, I think we're kind of focusing on this family of games just to kind of drill down onto a niche. But
Yeah. I think if
maybe.
I mean, in terms of, I agree with everything Justin said, and I don't. This is not. I don't think this is in contrast to that in any way. But I have a really deep personal interest in solo games and like journaling games and like single player adventures. I've got a bunch on the shelf behind me. Justin can attest. I've been like obsessed with these games for a while now. I bought a ton when we were at Gen Con, and I've bought more since. And I the thing I spent a lot of time thinking about is how I might be able to make playing a game alone interesting radio and like put that on the podcast or
We've
stream that.
had
And
Johnny and I have had conversations about it. Like, could we make it work? Would it be possible? We haven't. I don't think we've
yeah,
landed on something quite yet, but
yeah, but yeah, I
maybe
think
one day.
maybe one day. I think there are a couple of people out there
That do
who like
solo.
there's a
Yeah.
guy YouTube channel called Me Myself and Die. I recommend checking out. It's a guy, he's playing modified solo games, so they're not games that are necessarily designed to be solo. He does play Iron Sworn, which is designed to be solo, but most of the other stuff he does is modified solo role playing, but he makes it very interesting. He does a great job playing by himself and making it really engaging. It's Me Myself and Die on YouTube.
My this is now just me now just talking about it. Uh my head would go to like, it would be a bit more scripted, I think.
I
Where
think I
like
disagree.
really,
Well,
yeah,
I think I could see it going one of two ways. Like I think like if I wanted to play a game like uh 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, I could see
yeah,
that being a thing where it's like you, because 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, you're going through journaling prompts and you're writing
yep,
these in-depth like kind of journal entries as this vampire.
yeah,
And I could see that where like maybe you'd spend some time, you go through a whole game and then you go back and kind of like refine that and maybe read that as
sure,
kind of a a solo thing where it's
yeah,
but a game like Miru, which is like a map
mm,
making adventure solo game, I think would be far more interesting to see someone going through those prompts live.
sure, live. I The only reason I was like, oh, it'd be interesting because it would be. I don't know if I've seen any others. I haven't watched it. I've watched Me Myself and Die, but I haven't watched a ton of other like solo tabletop RPG players.
There are
But
not a ton. It is
there's not.
it is like the smallest
Yeah.
possible niche within tabletop gaming is solo gaming.
There's a part of me that would personally find it interesting if someone like played a solo RPG and then someone essentially created like a radio play out of that story. And that like you could have us, Johnny could be playing, but maybe you meet an NPC and Johnny writes the dialogue, but we come in and voice it or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think
That's where
there's,
my head went when I
yeah.
said scripted, is more of like a radio play that comes out of whatever happens in the solo RPG.
Yeah, so it'd be maybe a thing where it's like I play, like let's say Miru, because there is like a
Yeah.
lot of interaction in Miru that can come up. Where like I play Miru and I record all of it by myself, but I like
Yes.
pre-record the whole thing, and then we
It
go
wouldn't be
back and
live.
add in kind of like
Exactly.
SFX and voiceover, and
Exactly. Exactly
so you
what I
still
was
get the full
thinking.
experience of me playing the
Playing it.
game, but then there's
Mhm.
also this added layer of
Yes. Yep.
that'd be really interesting. That'd be a lot of
Yeah.
fun to
That's
try
where
and
my
pull off.
head goes to. It'd be tough. It'd be a lot of like production work, but
Yeah,
that's where my head goes to, like trying to keep the spirit of a solo RPG there while also adding the like improv acting component, I guess,
yeah,
to tabletop role playing games that I think most people watch actual plays for.
yeah. I mean, I could see kind of having like a best of both worlds thing with that, where it's like maybe like I think my head just keeps going to Miro because I think that's the game I own that would be the easiest to do this with. Where it's like maybe I'd stream playing Miru and it would just be me playing Miru and that's it. That's the whole thing. But then we spend the time and maybe 6 months to a year later we release the version that you're talking
The
about
audio. Yeah,
for audio.
that could be interesting too.
Yeah.
It's a great question, Sam.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Do you have any thoughts?
I think about that all the time.
We've just been talking for a long time.
Well, as a person who's new to this space and also really, really enjoying it in different aspects in the way that I hadn't necessarily thought about it. One of the appeals for me is the chance, the random chance of not knowing in a moment. And so I think that's a good journey to bring a listener along with, because there's a shared experience of unknowing between the people who are playing the game and the people who are watching and listening as well. But the other part of it that I've really come to appreciate deeply is the way that the stories can bloom and evolve in between these, or because of these random chances. And so I think there is like a spontaneity, and within that spontaneity, a real magic that is almost ineffable. Like you can't contain it, you can't describe it, and you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's something that I really do appreciate. And I think I appreciate, again, this platform in general, going back and listening to Root and going back and listening to the beginning of Scum and Villainy and being exposed to these different systems. Like sometimes I'll be standing in a store and I'll be like reading through a rule book, or it's something that I can't actually read because it's encased in plastic. And I'm like, what is it like? And I think it really gives people an opportunity to dip in and experience what that world could be like, almost as a tester, and without having to like buy a book and be like, oh, like actually I'm not going to be able to pull this off, or it's not exactly my style, or there's too many stats in this as well. So I think that the niche itself is actually beneficial, especially for people who are saying, well, what else is out there? What is beyond Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think to this day, probably the largest segment of our audience is people who found us because they were looking for an example of play of Avatar Legends because they wanted to GM, and the game was still so new that, you know, it's still pretty new. And so people just don't know. They're trying to wrap their heads around this, like you said, this thing that's not Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what that's like. That's like how most people have found us.
No, that's exactly my story, because as an Avatar fan, I saw this on Kickstarter and I was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to have this experience where I can play this game. Again, I did not read it, so I did think I was getting a board game. It's not a board game.
It's kind of a board game.
But upon like getting the book and reading through it and saying, wow, this is so in depth, there is so much more out there in a space that I don't understand. How do I do this? And I was able to get together with a bunch of other Avatar fans to say, hey, do you want to try this out? But I didn't understand how it worked, because without experience in other role-playing games, I was really just reading off of the book and not necessarily understanding these different collaborative storytelling aspects. And so I searched for it and found you all, like your episode zeros on YouTube. And it was so informative just to hear the process, but also to understand like the camaraderie that is necessary for a table to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fair. Yeah, that's interesting because like well, first off, it's funny to me hearing that because I'm like, I mean, I was just reading the book. You know what I mean? Like we were one of the first actual plays. So like I didn't have anyone else that I could turn to. I had listened to other Powered by the Apocalypse actual plays. And so they're like the philosophy is at least transferable, right? Like I can kind of bring the mentality, but like it's funny to me that I'm like, I was kind of just making it up as I went along. I'm like, yeah, I think this is how it's
Yeah.
supposed to go.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
funny too, because like I think about that whole first campaign. Like anybody who's listened to the whole first campaign has listened to me never understand how the balance track worked.
to in your defense, I think it's the most confusingly worded, one of the most confusingly worded parts in the rule books. It is very confusing about when you're shifting your center and when you're shifting your balance
Yeah. But how
and
many
what
times did I
exactly
like
that means.
not know the difference between those two? Like it's
I
just like,
think I think every time I think I ended up like writing a document with examples, like
yeah.
screenshots of the rule book, and like sent it to you on. I'm like, I hope this is makes sense because this is
Yeah.
how it's supposed to be.
And I think I responded like I still don't get it, but okay.
I know you did. Yeah, I'm also someone too, like to Sam's point, like I love board games. And so like I come to these and in my head, I'm not gonna throw out the rules just because you want to say something cool happens in the story. I
Mhm.
think I think the rules, to your point, those like moments where you're like, what is about to happen right now? That's when the rules come in and say, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? And I think it's not the answer that's interesting, it's the mystery that's interesting. And without that mystery, without those rules helping us decide what the actual outcome is going to be, we're like not to like shit on Sanctum at all, but like we're just doing Sanctum, right? Like
Mhm.
we're just talking and telling a story, which is so much fun. I love doing that too. But like the reason I play tabletop role playing games is because I have the chance to fail. And I don't know when that's going to happen. And I have to pivot when that does happen and do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes the dice tell a story of their own. And like like in Scout and Villainy, you have things happen where it's like I have spent the last like season and a half rolling rocks.
Yeah.
And then it's like my character
Oh,
ends up in a life or
Johnny,
death.
you're gonna have to get yourself some dice.
Yeah, you're right. But I spent like a season and a half rolling double sixes constantly. And then as soon as my character ends up in like an actual life or death situation, I can't stop rolling ones. So
I have another question for both of you. Both of you have experience as players, but like as GMs, if you are thinking about a table, a new group, what are some intentions that you're setting for yourself?
Mm.
And how are you sort of approaching starting out a new game? And what are some rules that you're holding for yourself that actually this is going to be really steadfast so that I can make sure that everybody's having the experience that I want them to be having, which is be having fun and using their imagination and exploring.
yeah, I mean, I for me, I think the two biggest things I hold in my head are that one, as the GM, my primary job is to be the player's biggest fan. And so if I am not each character at my table's biggest fan, I'm automatically failing as the
Yeah.
GM. And then number two, I think that like this is almost equal for me is and this one is actually a little bit more of a struggle for me too, but like fundamentally believing that my ideas are not the best ones at the table.
Mm. Mm. I like that. I like that a lot. I agree with Johnny on the like being their players' biggest fans. I think the piece I always like add to that when I talk to other people about that is like being their fan doesn't mean you don't want to see them challenged.
Hmm.
I feel that.
Being their fan also means I'm going to put this seemingly impossible obstacle in your way just because I want to see you overcome it. Because I know that that's going to stretch you as a player, and it's going to force you to stretch your character in ways that's going to make them grow and be more three-dimensional.
Mhm.
And then
I mean, and that's why, like, I mean,
off the
yeah,
map.
yeah, exactly, right? Like, you can listen to that first campaign, and you can, like, I try not to pull punches with at least the emotional baggage I'll put in front of characters. Because I think that's really when they grow as people, is when they're confronted with their like worst fears and anxieties. It's super interesting. Like one of the very first one of the very first like negative feedback we got. I've left it up, but you can see them on some of the like early episodes of the first campaign. It's when you're fighting the ostrich buffalo
Yeah.
and like all the earthbenders, and someone was like, GM, you were like way too easy on them. Like this should have been way harder on them. And like this is like the fourth or fifth episode, right? So like we're still like finding our groove a little bit. But B, like to Johnny's point, like the players are going to win. You know what I mean? Like there are very few. I can't think of any times that I went into an obstacle thinking this is a TPK. There wasn't any I went into it thinking this is going to kill all of them. And I went into it thinking this is going to stretch them and make them have to struggle with finding a solution to this. But you're
Mm.
going to find a solution to this. I'm not going to
Yeah.
let you die.
See, I think that's where we diverge, I think, the most. Because I think that the imminent and real threat of your characters all dying
Yeah,
means that you will make different decisions than you would if
for
you
sure.
feel fundamentally safe.
Yeah. And that's for sure. That's why I think I lean more on like the emotional baggage, right? Like I'll set up a fight, and the danger is not the physical fight. The danger is that you're fighting your mom who's possessed by a spirit.
Yeah.
Are you going to fight her or not? You know what I mean? Like,
and I want people to be scared of both. But what were you going to say, Sam?
No, to bring it back to Avatar Legends and specifically the balance track, I feel like that is actually the mechanic that can do both. It not to use a pun, but it does balance those things because you can have the shattering effect of losing your balance, but losing your balance doesn't necessarily mean losing your character. But it might change your character in a way that is unknown and interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fun to like, that's a great question. I love hearing like other GMs thoughts, because like, every GM is different. I think that's why we eventually were like, we have to have other GMs on Dustfire. Because if it's just me, I GM a very specific style. Like we're even finding like Forged in the Dark, I love it. I don't think I'm a good Forged in the Dark GM. It's just like not naturally what comes to me. But like, that's why Johnny's going to probably take over for this high fantasy Forged in the Dark, because I think with a lot of the more specific mechanics that it has, Johnny will have the freedom to really make combat feel and like situations feel physically dangerous and imminent danger. I think he's going to do fantastic at that. And I think I excel a lot more in like introducing obstacles as a reaction to things that people do, as opposed to already setting up something that feels imminent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will kill all of you.
I welcome it, please.
I will not hesitate.
I mean, that's the cool thing I love about Forged in the Dark is like you can resist any consequence, right?
Yeah.
As long as you've got the stress, you can say, nope, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. One thing, this is kind of getting in the weeds on a slightly different thing, but with the game that we're going to be playing, there is a unique mechanic that this game has that I've not seen in any other games
I
yet.
just love it. I think you and I are talking about the tokens.
Yes, the tokens.
Yes,
So
it's an incredible mechanic. It's so good.
yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Why don't you talk about it from your memory a little bit?
It's called Boon and Advantage, or a Bane and Advantage. So Scum and Villainy, Blades in the Dark doesn't have anything like this, but Scum and Villainy has I forget what they're called. Basically like luck points, right? That players can add to like add a D6 to their dice. But the game that we're looking at has a token system, somewhat like if you've played any of the final Fantasy Flight Star Wars games or Genesis.
I'm more of a Star Trek man myself.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Wow, that was really dismissive, Justin.
No, I have not watched enough.
I'm messing with you.
I have not watched enough Star Trek to comment on it. I've liked what I've seen though. I've just always been a Star Wars person.
I'm just messing with you.
Here's the thing. I love steak. If you want to have a chicken patty, that's your decision.
Yeah. That's what it was. I was like, I'm just gonna yuck your yum. Great. I love you.
How about a chicken fried steak?
Sure.
Yeah.
I watch your arteries, but sure. Do what you want.
Don't eat too many of them, but
no, so like the token is there's like a pool of tokens, and they might start off. I think it starts off with like 4 or like however many players you have for the players. But the minute a player spends it, it becomes a token that the GM can use to introduce a complication. And then when the GM spends it, it flips back to the player's pool. And so it incentivizes you to constantly be flipping them, but it allows the GM to then use it's I read that and I'm like, yes, it's my favorite mechanic in the Star Wars games. And I'm so glad it's being brought in here.
Well, and there's another, so that's part of it, but then there's a thing that the GM gets where depending on the thing that you're going into, so like for our game, I'll start with a standard of 1, but I'll get a special token called Doom, where I basically can just decide like it doesn't really matter what you roll, this thing is going to fail.
Oh, whoa. We just kind of skimmed through it, but I love it. It's sort of like the GM's resistance.
Yes.
Yeah. That's dope. That's fun. Oh gosh, I hate that and I love it at the same time.
Yeah, Doom. Doom can be spent by the GM to introduce complications, and change the board state. When the GM spends Doom, they get to inflict consequences as though players fail to roll.
Wow. Yeah. That's what I was.
This combined with Johnny saying that he has no qualms in killing characters, just get in your bag, Justin. Like, you're gonna have to pull out like 7, 8, 9.
I think we'll have to have a conversation. This is now more high level table talk, but we should then have a conversation about the situations in which it is okay for you to kill a character.
Yeah.
So that way it's just springed on us and someone's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well that's the thing too. It's like I'm not aiming to kill anybody's character.
Sure. But if the story's there, it's there. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah,
if the bad guy is standing over you with a dagger and you have no weapons or armor, and you know what I mean, like exactly. They're just gonna plunge it in your heart.
And sometimes you just have to I said this on the Discord the other day. There is no character that is more important to me than a good story, and it's like Fellowship is not as good if Gandalf doesn't fall off the bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
Right, and so
yeah.
That's my philosophy. I'm gonna push you all off bridge.
Okay. I'm gonna take the wizard off of the playbooks I'm looking at. Do not play the wizard.
You can play the wizard. I just need to avoid Balrogs.
Just avoid Balrogs in Dwarven Mines. Sam, I would love to hear from you. We can end this whenever, because at this point we're just chatting. So, but I'd love to hear from you, like how now you've got like 5 episodes under your belt, like as a new player. What were your like expectations coming into this?
Great question.
What like didn't meet those expectations? What was just different than what you were expecting?
I talked with Danny about this already, so I don't feel bad about saying it on a podcast. But I've asked him, like, specifically, like, it's been a lot of fun, and I think I would have more fun if you pushed our balance and really tried to start to play with these different principles and push and pull us in one direction or another. I think that's been my experience when I was GMing for my Avatar Legends group. Is one of the things, I forget where in the core rulebook, with it's planted in me the idea of creating NPCs specifically aligned with a character's one side of a character's principle or another side, and then having those interactions and having them needle at that principle and really try to shift the balance. Because as a GM, from my understanding, the way that you can work Avatar Legends is that you can say you shift your balance without necessarily anything happening. It could be as a result of a GM move, or it could be this thing called the golden opportunity. And a golden opportunity, in my estimation, is situational. It's if the character does something that seems very much in line with a principle, you can say, this is the opportunity and I'm going to shift your balance in this direction. And that presents the player with a choice. Like, yes, I can shift my balance, be out of balance, be closer to losing my balance, be stronger because of this principle. And the decisions off of that are cascading. But the other part, which I really, really like, is that you can choose to resist having your balance shifted. And if you fail a roll, you are pushed in a direction of
twice. I think twice. Yeah.
And I was playing in one of Magpie's curated play series. The GM had written one of the adventures, I think, in Wang Shitong's library.
Oh, nice.
And so she pressed on this principle a lot. And one of my characters had like a throwaway line to a villain, and she took that and she expanded it and she pressed on my principle. Cool. And then I failed 2 rolls twice, and I ended up losing my balance right there in that scene. And narratively, it just made sense that my character would then betray the other character. So it was absolutely nothing that I had envisioned for my character. And he went off the deep end and ended up having like their own story arc for an episode. And that was pretty interesting. And so that's what I'm like, I'm waiting for that to happen because I think that is the unpredictability of the nature. Because for me, I came in with what I felt was a solid idea, but was not a complete picture. And really, I'm very excited to learn more about who my character is. And I think that happens every episode. And so that's been the really rewarding part for me, is to have an idea and actually have the space, the intention, and the dedication to see how deep it goes.
I do have a follow-up question, but I wanted to, first off, for the like other GMs listening to this is why like reading other games is super important, because Masks, with the Next Generation, which is a game written by Magpie as well too, explicitly has a section in the GM section where it says, when you create a mission, or like when you're creating arcs, create 2 NPCs for each PC, both of them representing one of their other principles, just so like you can do exactly what you're talking about, is like push them in one or the other direction. And then for GMs of Avatar listening, so GM moves in the book say you do a GM move anytime there's a miss, and then what Sam said is the important part, or the golden opportunity. In other words, it just makes sense, right? So like you can do a GM move whenever you want to, as long as it makes sense in the story and it pushes the story forward. You can do a GM move. And to Sam's point, like you could just say a throwaway line and the GM might be like, cool, I'm pushing you towards da da da. As long as it makes sense, go for it. Like,
and I think too, like, and to your point, Sam, like I think having those characters who represent one side of the spectrum or the other really can push you into more interesting story moments. Like I feel like in season 1 with Osa, like he because of the way that things started, he was already kind of like leaning towards his principles were force versus care, and leaning towards force. And then Justin, you introduced Toko, and like Toko was like constantly pulling Osa toward
Yeah.
care,
Totally.
and it was like it was this thing that felt so opposite of who Osa
Yeah.
was, but became within the fiction, like outside of Ren, like Osa's most important relationship.
Mm, mm. That's Toko might be one of my favorite NPCs I've ever played. And he didn't have a huge role. Like that was his role, was to just be the person for Osa that he needed in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, anyway. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved.
and as a player, even like during spoilers for a campaign we did 2 years ago, but in Osa's final moments, like I was thinking about Toko. Like
Oh,
I was thinking about the fact that like Toko would have tried to pull Osa back
yeah,
from that ledge.
yeah. Oh, if he had been
And
there. Oh man.
yeah, but and so I think like having a character like that made the
Yeah.
moments that Osa leaned away from that more interesting.
More interesting. Exactly. Yeah.
And
And you
yeah.
felt it, you can feel it too, like even in the weight of those decisions, like when they went back to Bossing Say and had to tell Toko what happened
Mhm.
to Osa. Like that was like then you felt the weight of all of those decisions and all those moments. And yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
Sam, so I'm so curious because like you've stated a lot, like you don't have like a ton of TTRPG experience. You've done some now. Um, have you noticed a difference, like, playing with your family or playing with your friends as opposed to, like, playing where you know that, like, strangers are listening to you?
Not really, no. But I
Okay.
think the main difference is I'm never a player. I'm always the GM. Um, so it's different as
Interesting.
a
Yeah,
player.
yeah, yeah.
I
Sure.
think that's the main difference. Also, I am chronically offline, so it's the opposite of being chronically online.
Mm.
So I think that actually does me well,
Sure,
for the
sure.
most part.
Mhm.
So I'm trying not to engage in social media as much as possible. So
Yeah.
I'm on the Discord occasionally, and you know,
Hey, that's fair. Gotta
Yeah.
gotta have those boundaries.
I am
Yeah.
on
No, that's
Spotify
healthy.
though, so you can find me and listen to all my playlists on Spotify. So I would say again, like whatever I say here, it is what it is. I don't know how I'm not, hopefully I'm not going to say anything that's going to catch up with me later in life, but I mean,
Yeah.
you speak enough into a
I've
microphone, who knows?
I've said some questionable things, sometimes on purpose.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's to move the story
it's just
forward.
there.
Nothing's cost me my job yet.
Yeah. Um, Sam, that actually makes me think of a question that I think is interesting. How did you so you created a playlist for Teto, which is shared in our Discord, that people can listen to. How did you what was the process for like developing that?
Yeah, sure. I think you have to join the Patreon to get access to the playlists. So plug for that.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be here at fill in the blank dollars a month.
One.
One for that
What? Are you
level. Yeah.
serious?
Yeah.
Yeah,
$1.
get on
Yeah.
that. If you're listening to
I
this, get
think
on that.
I think everybody should join at $1 a month. That is an incredible steal.
Y'all know
Yeah.
that you like if you ever use cash and you get some change back, like if you do that twice in a month period, if you use cash, like you're gonna get $1.
How often do you
Yeah.
get back like a 10? That's almost a year of
Yeah.
a
That's right.
subscription to
If you
you know what I
truly
mean?
can't afford $1, there's more important things for you to be doing right now. Stop listening to this and go do them.
Please.
But
Let's see. I think one of the things that I wrote in the Discord was that what's been interesting to me about playing this campaign is it's been having me listen to more music. Like after I think the first episode, I was like, I gotta listen to Johnny Cash. I gotta. And so I was listening to Johnny Cash. And then for the episode with the Battle of the Bands, and Danny gave a punk rock description. Who, again, speaking of Across the Spider-Verse, I was definitely picturing Spider-Punk.
Yes.
I was like, I have not, like, I'm aware of punk music, but I've not like actually sat and listened to it. And so I did spend like pretty much like 2 days just listening to like punk from like the 70s and 80s, which I hadn't, like, that's not something that I've experienced. And then but specifically with Teto's playlist, I listened to a lot of gamelan music from Bali. I wanted that sort of like bells feeling and a gong feeling to represent sort of this monastic experience. I listened to a lot of like wilderness inspired lo-fi. And so it'd be lo-fi music, but also you'd have a brook or a bird call in there as well to also represent his wandering ability. And then I wanted him to sort of have this like 60s vibe from like the previous generation, the generation that raised him. And so I listened to a lot of music from that era, and I found this Cat Stevens song called "The Wind," and I was like, "Ooh!" Like, I just by the title being an airbender. And then I put some Hendrix in there to like represent this spiritual turning point that he had, which is why he's actually left and departed. And then my characterization of Teto is like basically like a surfer. And I was like, I think he listens to like Hawaiian reggae. And so I listened to a lot of Hawaiian reggae. So I dipped into early reggae as well. And I'm like, okay, maybe somebody who is older in the older generation listened to this and he got into it. And then I put some early 2000s Sean Paul on there too, because love me some Sean Paul.
I love that.
Yeah,
60s, I definitely see it. There's like a very kind anti-disestablishmentarianism about Teto. Like, he won't take down the government or the establishment, but he'll definitely accidentally steal something very important that the establishment needs in order to continue to function.
That's fun. Yeah, with playlists, one thing I exercise, I think anyone who likes to make playlists for their characters should do, that I did with Shoban, because I was having trouble getting into his head with the Gemi Shoban back and forth. I made a playlist for each of them, but it was not about them. It was not a Shoban playlist and a Gemi playlist. It was a playlist of songs. I had one song for each of the other PCs that was the way that Shoban thought about them, and another one that was the way that Gemi thought about them. And so
that is wild, Johnny.
There was a song. There was Ren's song on the playlist for each of them, and then like so on and so forth. And so it was a lot of fun to do. And I ended up sending a couple of the songs to like each of the players. Like, but Steve ended up the song I picked for Shoban's thoughts about Ren, like Steve latched onto and was like, "This is Ren's song."
I love that. That's a fun
intended.
Definitely not intended. I realized it as you leaned into the mic.
Then just pun occurring. Then
pun happening.
Pun happening.
Puns ahoy. But yeah, it's a fun exercise. I recommend making a playlist for your characters for how they think about the other characters instead of how they think about themselves.
I've actually never made a playlist. This is the first character I've ever made a playlist for. And it was fun exercise.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. I actually used a solo RPG called Void 1680 AM.
Oh yeah.
It's fun. I modified it a little bit, right? Because like with that, you're recording it like you're actually like a radio DJ and taking callers, and I didn't do that. But I used the dice to kind of help me like give me a prompt and then pick a song that I think Haru would attach to that prompt.
Mm. That's fun. There's a that made me think of using other RPGs for like building your RPGs. Made me think of there is a game I've been wanting to, and maybe we'll actually be able to use it in the campaign when I'm GMing. It's not
Sure.
It's not a PBT or FITD. I actually have it sitting right here, but it's a game called World Ending Game where you play like a single session to end your campaign.
Yeah,
and it's like it seems like a lot of fun, but I've never actually gotten to play it.
We thought about using it for the first campaign, but it didn't feel like.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it fit with what we were doing.
It didn't feel like it fit with anything. And I also was like, I kind of want to write epilogues for characters. I really want to do that last tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I could write some pretty good epilogues. So I didn't
You
want to
did.
play. I to this day, I think that is some of the best. I guess you could call it GMing. It was more like writing, but that I think I've done at all.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
No listener was unaffected.
That's my hope. You know, when I played Captain Von Trapp in my high school's production of Sound of Music. Yes, thank you, Johnny. We said it at the same time. I also remembered it. And my one goal going into it is like, I want someone to cry when I sing Edelweiss. If I can do that, I think I've done it. And I got a few people. To cry. So
nice.
That's, I did it. I'm an actor.
I do not like the Sound of Music.
That's fair. I'm not going to touch that. That's fair. That's a fair opinion to have.
But it was my great grandmother's like favorite movie, and so I grew up watching it a ton because my family was like really close. I was at her house all the time.
Of course, you don't like it.
Well, yeah, I've never actually watched it all the way through either, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But I don't intend to. I will die without watching it end to end.
I mean, Julie Andrews is just a treasure.
I love Julie Andrews. It's nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm sitting right in the middle of you because I've never seen The Sound of Music and I've not been pulled one way or another. If you were to pitch Sound of Music to me or deter me in 5 seconds, how would you do it?
I wouldn't.
I would make your own choice, man.
Well, like genuinely, there are things everyone knows there are things I will get on a soapbox about. But the
Tell us how you feel about pumpkins.
Fucking pumpkins. No, I'll get on a soapbox if I care about something. I just so thoroughly don't give a shit about the Sound of Music.
I think it's one of those. It's interesting. We were having a discussion about movies in the movie section of our Discord. There's a lot of us like movies, so we talk about it. And I think The Sound of Music is one of those musicals that is seminal to the genre of musicals. Like it influences a lot of musicals that came after it. Really like opened up musicals, I think, to a broader audience. So in that respect, it's a good watch. Is it the most interesting musical I've ever watched? Absolutely not. I don't even think it cracks the top 10 of like best musicals. But it's a seminal piece of fiction that I think deserves the attention it gets, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't like musicals.
Then yeah,
so
that's so fair.
Like I think, and even though you know what, I had this realization the other day that like I love Disney movies and like classic Disney movies, Disney animation, where like those are musicals. It like never really occurred to me,
You didn't
but
put it together when the animals started singing. Is it because they were animals singing?
well, I think it's
In the
because they're
musical?
I think it's because it's animation, and I don't really think of
Mm.
like musical. Even though there's music,
It was
I
cartoon first, music second.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. That's so fair.
and then
Uh,
but like the Lion King on Broadway is a thing. It's been a thing for a long time, and like there's still, even though I think they added like 2 songs maybe to the Broadway version, it's not that much more music than there is in the movie.
Are you
But
going to get soapbox, Johnny?
no. I'm just saying,
Oh,
like,
okay.
I think of those two things as like different things, even though they are essentially the same thing.
Because I was preparing
Soapbox
myself. I wanted
Soapbox
to.
Justin would say that The Lion King on Broadway is a magical experience, and if you haven't experienced it, you should. It's amazing.
I grew up a handful of miles away from the studio that choreographed it, so I'm like very familiar with it. But
Sure.
uh, like I grew up going to so Garth Fagan Dance, which is based in Rochester, New York, where I grew up, choreographed the Lion King, and so I went to there's a little theater in Rochester called Jiva Theater that I went and saw like bits of the Lion King
Sure.
while it was like being prepped for Broadway and stuff. But
Wow. Fun.
What I know about the Lion King is that not very much, but one of my old coworkers had a Lion King T-shirt, I guess, from the show, and it was basically the lion's face, and it was like all big, and is the entire T-shirt. And he was walking around one day, and this guy comes up to him and is like, "I like your T-shirt," and he's like, "Okay, cool," and he's like, "I'll buy it from you," and the guy's like, my coworker's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll give you." How much do you want from me? She's like, I'm not going to sell it. He's like, I'll give you $300. And my coworker said, no, man, and walked away. I think they were at a bar or something. Like maybe about a half an hour, guy comes back, like $500. And my coworker said, no, you like the t-shirt too much. Also, maybe it was just a little weirded out.
yeah,
That's crazy. If someone offered me $500 for the T-shirt, I'd be like, absolutely. I will walk home without a T-shirt if you
Walk
give
home
me
with
$500.
$500.
Yep.
when I was 17, I was walking through a mall and a guy came up to me. I was wearing flip-flops and a guy came up to me and just like kind of starts walking next to me for a little while, for a little too long and a little too close. And then eventually just goes, I really like your feet.
Okay, well that's
That's-
weird.
Yeah.
Nope.
And I was
That's
like,
weird. Nope.
I literally said, thanks. And he goes, how much would you charge to let me take some pictures of them? And I was like,
Is this a
nah.
real story? Oh,
Yeah,
Johnny.
no, this is for
no.
and I was like, I literally just went, I'm a minor. And then he like ran. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. See, that's weird. That's 100% weird. I'm with you. But the shirt thing, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Johnny. That's not cool.
It's fine. My point in telling that story though is I'm sure that
there's a component to it.
Sam's friend did not feel altogether different from me in
sure
that moment.
That's so fair. That's so fair.
You know, it's true. The way that my coworker did tell me, it was all about the T-shirt because it was so cool. Anyways,
anyway, on that note, thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week for more Scars of Disorder.
Wait, we are doing next week?
Oh no, we're not doing next week. We have Thanksgiving off.
Next week's Black Friday.
2 weeks. Black Friday. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
But if you want to hang out with us, come to the Best Buy. Not sponsored by Best Buy.
Come to any Best Buy in the line across the nation we make.
Any Best Buy. I don't know. We might do maybe something like this. We'll see who's free next Friday. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything Friday night. So, I don't know. People are free. Maybe we'll do something like this again. Just have something on Twitch. But we might not. We'll see. All right, friends. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Later, cat gators.
Hasta la pasta.